right now, the playlist you just put on to help you focus, it might actually be spiking your cortisol.
Yeah, it's highly likely, honestly.
Which is wild. But think about how you use music on a normal day. You probably throw in some earbuds during a chaotic commute or like put on a background mix just to survive the noise of your open plan office.
Right, it's a coping mechanism.
Exactly. We treat sound like this, like a cheap drug. A quick hit of entertainment or literally just a sonic wall to block out the world. And we don't even question it.
No, we don't. But, well, what if that entirely passive, disconnected way we consume music is actually a massive historical anomaly?
Wait, an anomaly?
Oh, absolutely. It's a complete deviation from how human beings have historically interacted with sound. I mean,
Yeah.
for the vast majority of our existence, music was a highly functional technology.
So not just like background noise you ignore while answering emails.
Exactly. Sound was engineered for ritual coordination. It was applied with absolute precision to process complex, communal emotions, like grief, or to synchronize the movements of a workforce.
Like sea shanties or work songs.
Right. Or even to guide cognitive focus during healing. It had a specific job to do. It's really only in the blink of an eye, historically speaking, with the rise of the phonograph, the radio, and now streaming, that we totally flattened music into this passive commodity.
Okay, let's unpack this because we are going to look at how artificial intelligence, our growing understanding of neuroscience, and our our cultural exhaustion are all converging to completely rewrite our relationship with sound.
It's a fascinating convergence.
It really is. And to guide us, we're digging into a stack of research today outlining a philosophical and technological framework called the Adaptive Ritual Series. And the mission of this deep dive is to explore a radical shift currently underway in design and tech.
Yeah, a massive shift.
We are talking about taking music from being a static piece of entertainment and turning it back into functional, active human infrastructure.
And the Adaptive Ritual Series is essentially a blueprint for that return. It's proposing that we can restore music to its original functional role. But, we can do it by utilizing the most advanced technological tools of our current era.
Which we desperately need, right?
Oh, absolutely. The creators of this framework are looking at the intense stress, the burnout, the utter fragmentation of modern life. And they're proposing that our sound environments can be actively engineered to support our nervous systems.
So let's start with the central design philosophy because the source material outlines a major pivot, moving from music that, quote, sounds good to music that does good. How does that actually work in practice?
Well, think about traditional music composition. The foundational question the composer asks when sitting at a piano is, what should this music sound like?
Right, they're trying to write a catchy melody or a beautiful chord progression.
Exactly. They are solving for an aesthetic experience. The adaptive ritual framework completely abandons that premise. The designers aren't asking what it sounds like. They're asking, what state should this sound create in the human body?
Wow. Okay, that reframes the entire concept of a song. You're moving from, like, art for art's sake into literal behavioral architecture. It's almost like emotional engineering.
Emotional engineering is a great way to put it. The creators are treating daily human transitions as literal design problems.
Transitions like what?
Well, think about the thresholds we cross every single day. Waking up and leaving a sleep state, transitioning into deep, focused work, entering a period of acute grief.
Oh, yeah. Or even just trying to end the workday and letting go of all that built-up stress so you can actually sleep.
Exactly. And neurologically, those transitions are usually when we are at our most vulnerable.
Right, because that context switching is when you get distracted, or when your anxiety just spikes because your brain is scrambling to shift gears from one reality to another.
Yeah, those are the universal friction points of the human experience. They happen across every culture, in every profession. Historically, we built elaborate rituals to guide our brains through those thresholds.
But today, we mostly just stumble blindly from one highly stimulated state to the next, usually while staring at a screen.
We really do.
Yeah.
So the Adaptive Ritual Series replaces those lost rituals with adaptive soundscapes. The audio is built to physically and psychologically pull you from one internal state to another.
So by slowly manipulating the rhythm or the sonic texture, the sound physically shifts you from tension into focus.
Or from hyperarousal into calm. Yes, precisely.
Wait, hold on. You're using terms like emotional engineering and adaptive soundscapes, but I'm looking at YouTube right now and seeing like a million lo-fi beats to study to streams.
Sure, yeah.
I mean, I can open a meditation app and play a track designed for sleep right now. Aren't we just putting a highly academic, fancy label on a Spotify playlist? We already have functional music.
I totally get the skepticism.
Mm.
And the source material actually addresses that exact comparison.
Yeah.
The massive popularity of those focus streams proves that the cultural demand for functional sound is there. People are absolutely desperate for it.
Okay, fair. So what's the difference then?
The difference between a YouTube stream and an adaptive ritual is structural. Those meditation apps and lo-fi playlists provide content. The adaptive ritual model provides environments.
Break down that difference for me. Content versus environments.
Okay, so think of a static playlist as a recorded lecture. You press play, the file runs from start to finish. Doesn't care if you are paying attention, if you are stressed, or if you left the room entirely.
Right. It's just a static broadcast. It's playing whether I'm there or not.
Exactly. An environment, on the other hand, is responsive.
Wow.
A true adaptive ritual system is less like a recorded lecture and more like walking into a climate-controlled room.
Oh, okay. So it's like the difference between hanging a beautiful high-definition painting of a fire on your wall versus actually installing a smart thermostat in your house.
That's a perfect analogy.
Right, because the painting is a static piece of content.
Yeah.
It's nice to look at, maybe it makes you feel cozy, but it doesn't change anything. The thermostat actively senses when you get cold and automatically adjusts the temperature of the room to pull your physical state back to a baseline of comfort.
It hits the nail on the head. A functional system actively manages your physical state based on real-time feedback.
Wow.
And to understand how we actually get to a point where sound acts like a thermostat, we have to look at the physical spaces where music has lived throughout history, because the architecture has always dictated the sound.
Right, so the physical space wasn't just a container for the music, it actually shaped the composition itself.
Absolutely. If you go back centuries, the primary space for complex, structured music was the massive stone church.
Right.
And the instrument that evolved to fit that highly resonant, cavernous architecture was the human choir. I mean, a cathedral has a reverb tail that lasts for like 6 or 7 seconds.
Oh, wow. So if a composer tried to write really fast, intricate melodies,
The room would just turn it into a wall of sonic mud. The architecture demanded slow, soaring, sustained notes.
so the environment literally built the genre, and then as society evolved, the physical space shifted to the concert hall.
And the instrument evolved into the symphony. The concert hall was built for acoustics that could handle dynamic range, from a whisper-quiet flute to crashing timpani.
And it was designed for a seated, highly attentive audience.
Exactly. But then technology intervened and completely upended the physical space. The recording studio became the new architecture.
And the output of the studio is the album. That's a huge shift. Suddenly, the music doesn't need to be played in the space it was designed for. You capture it, perfect it, and divorce it entirely from a live physical room.
Which led us to the most recent shift. The architecture became the internet, and the format became streaming.
Right. Music became completely ubiquitous, highly accessible.
But it also became totally disembodied.
Hmm.
You listen to it on AirPods while walking down a noisy street. It has literally no relationship to the environment you're actually standing in.
But if the internet essentially killed the physical room for music, how do we get back to this idea of an environment? Like, where does this new adaptive music actually live?
Well, the sources argue that the next evolutionary step is the physical room you are sitting in becoming the adaptive sound system.
The room itself.
Yes, we went from the church to the hall to the studio to the cloud. Now, the goal is to pull the sound back down from the cloud and embed it directly into the spaces where we live and work.
So not as a passive file you play on your phone.
No, as a living, responsive infrastructure embedded in your office, your hospital, or your home.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because if the goal is a perfectly responsive room that acts like a sonic thermostat, you need a massive engine to run that real-time calculation.
Oh, absolutely.
We have to talk about the artificial intelligence component, because the immediate assumption whenever AI and music are mentioned in the same breath is displacement. Great, the robots are coming to automate human musicians out of existence.
Yeah, that narrative is everywhere. But it fundamentally misunderstands the mechanism of this specific framework. The Adaptive Ritual series uses AI not as a replacement for the human composer, but as the essential engine for scalability and variation.
So how does that differ from normal composing?
Think about traditional composition again. A human writes a track, records it, and the file is permanently locked. It sounds exactly the same every single time.
Right.
An AI-assisted system doesn't write a locked song. It creates an adaptive framework.
So the human composer isn't writing a fixed melody. They are essentially designing a set of rules or like a sonic landscape.
Precisely.
It's like, okay, traditional composition is like building a roller coaster. The tracks are fixed and every single writer gets the exact same drops and turns. But this AI system is more like a self-driving off-road vehicle.
I love that.
The human composer builds the engine, creates the musical elements, and chooses the emotional destination. But the AI is the driver steering around the potholes in real time.
That's the exact mechanical relationship. The human composer provides the raw material, say a specific cello drone, a synthesized frequency, maybe a subtle rhythmic pulse.
And then they just hand that over to the AI.
They hand those audio stems to the AI with a complex rule set. And the AI acts as a live, infinite conductor. It can make micro adjustments to the tempo, the texture, and the timing of those stems that a human simply couldn't calculate continuously for millions of different people at once.
Okay, but how does the AI know when to steer? What is it actually adapting to? This is the part of the research that I found genuinely staggering, the whole mechanism of responsiveness.
Yes, this is where we cross a threshold from a static recording into a living biological feedback loop.
A biological feedback loop.
Yeah. These adaptive systems are designed to pull in real-time biometric and environmental data. Future iterations will integrate directly with your wearables.
Wow.
They will monitor your heart rate variability, they will track your breathing patterns, your sleep cycles, your physical movement in the space, and even the ambient noise level outside your window.
Let me make sure I am visualizing this correctly. Say I'm sitting at my desk, I have a massive deadline in an hour, and my stress is spiking.
Okay, common scenario.
Right. So biologically, my cortisol is rising, my heart rate accelerates to like 100 beats per minute, and my breathing gets shallow. The sound environment in my office detects that biofeedback. How does the AI mechanically use sound to fix that?
It uses a neurological mechanism called entrainment.
Entrainment.
Yeah, your body naturally wants to synchronize its internal rhythms with dominant external rhythms.
Yeah.
So the AI conductor recognizes your elevated heart rate. Instantly, the soundscape in your room shifts.
Like it just changes the music entirely.
It adapts it. The AI strips away any jagged, distracting frequencies. It introduces a deep, rhythmic pulse that starts at your current heart rate. And then, imperceptibly, over the course of maybe 5 minutes, it slows that tempo down to 60 beats per minute.
And because of entrainment, my nervous system subconsciously follows that slowing tempo. My heart rate drops to match the room, which triggers my parasympathetic nervous system, pulling me out of the fight-or-flight response and back into a regulated state of focus.
It is a closed-loop feedback system. It reads your biological state, provides an acoustic intervention, measures how your body responds to that intervention, and adjusts the rule set accordingly.
That is unbelievable.
And you literally could not scale this without artificial intelligence. I mean, you can't have a human musician sitting in the corner of your office reading your smartwatch data and improvising acoustic therapy for you 8 hours a day.
No, obviously not.
AI is the only way to make deeply personalized, context-aware emotional architecture accessible to the public.
Which pulls this entirely out of the realm of theoretical tech and drops it right into the real world. Why is this transition happening now, though? Why is moving music from entertainment to infrastructure so urgent?
Well, the urgency comes from a massive systemic cultural failure. Modern life has engineered an environment that our ancient nervous systems simply cannot handle.
Oh, for sure. We are subjected to constant, relentless stimulation.
Exactly. Our attention is fractured by screens, notifications, and open plan spaces. The biological cost of that constant context switching is immense. We are experiencing chronic stress and decision fatigue on a scale that is historically unprecedented.
People are burned out on a cellular level. We desperately need external tools to help us regulate our internal states, because the external world provides zero structural support right now.
And sound, when deployed as an architectural tool, is one of the most efficient, non-invasive ways to hack the nervous system. The source material outlines several key areas where this living infrastructure is already being targeted for immediate, real-world application.
Like where?
Healthcare is a primary focus.
That makes total sense, because when you think of a modern hospital, it is the most hostile soundscape imaginable. It's a barrage of alarms, beeping monitors, intercoms. It actively prevents a patient's nervous system from resting.
Alarm fatigue is a documented crisis in healthcare. The adaptive ritual model proposes turning hospital wards into true acoustic recovery environments.
So what does that actually sound like?
Well, instead of a chaotic wall of noise, an adaptive sound system masks the jarring, irregular environmental sounds. It reads the collective vitals of a recovery ward and provides targeted, low-frequency soundscapes to actively lower patient heart rates and induce deeper sleep cycles.
Wow.
But it's not just for the patients, it's for the staff, too.
Right. Imagine a break room for ICU nurses. They are coming off a high trauma shift. Their adrenaline is completely maxed out. They step into a room where the soundscape is actively engineered to process that kinetic energy and dramatically reduce their cortisol levels before they have to go back out on the floor.
The systemic impact on long-term well-being and burnout prevention is massive. The researchers also highlight education.
Oh, classrooms.
Yeah. Think about the friction of a typical school day. You have a classroom of 30 kids coming in from a chaotic, high-energy recess. They're completely dysregulated.
I can hear it now. It's chaos.
Currently, the teacher has to use sheer vocal force and behavioral discipline to force those kids into a state of quiet focus for a math lesson.
But with this infrastructure, the physical classroom acts as a co-teacher.
Exactly.
The adaptive sound system provides a subliminal acoustic cue. Over a 5-minute period, it gently shifts the sonic energy of the room from high activity to deep focus. It literally creates an invisible psychological container, physically pacing the student's nervous system so the teacher doesn't have to fight them.
It manages the transition so the humans can focus on the actual work, which leads to the final major application workplaces.
I want you to picture your own chaotic workday for a second. The endless emails, the whiplash of jumping from a spreadsheet to a Zoom call, just the mental exhaustion of trying to maintain any kind of creative flow.
It's draining.
Now, what if the room you were sitting in knew when your focus was fracturing and imperceptibly shifted the ambient audio to stimulate your attention? And more importantly, what if at 5 p.m. the room initiated a sonic transition designed specifically to help you mentally detach, stop ruminating on emails, and actually let go of the day?
It fundamentally changes your relationship with your environment. The room becomes an active partner in your long-term well-being, rather than a chaotic obstacle you have to burn energy to overcome.
It's incredible.
And the authors of the brief are very clear when pitching this to funders. This isn't a niche, avant-garde art project. It is a highly scalable prototype for a new era of human support infrastructure.
Okay, we've covered the mechanics, the AI, and the day-to-day applications, but I want to zoom out. Because the source material doesn't just stop at workplace productivity. It talks about massive philosophical implications for art and human culture as a whole.
Yeah, if we connect this to the bigger picture, this specific project is just one node in a much broader emerging paradigm. The texts use phrases like symbiotic arts or adaptive creative systems.
Symbiotic arts.
Right. What we are witnessing is a fundamental reevaluation of how intelligence operates in the creative process.
There is a line in the text that stood out to me. It explicitly says, "We are entering an era in which intelligence is no longer singular."
That is the core philosophical shift. For the last century, the narrative surrounding technology has been binary. Human creativity is sacred and singular, and artificial systems are just dumb tools for automation. They do the repetitive math so we don't have to.
Right. Humans make art, computers do spreadsheets.
Exactly. But the symbiotic arts paradigm suggests a process of co-evolution. Human creativity and artificial intelligence are now learning from each other. We are shaping the tools, and the tools are simultaneously shaping our culture.
So it's not automation, it's amplification.
Yes.
The human still holds the crucial role. They provide the emotional intention, understanding the deeply human experience of grief or the necessity of deep sleep. The human maps the emotional journey. But the AI provides the massive scale, the real-time biometric adaptation, and the infinite variation required to turn that intention into a living environment. They fundamentally rely on each other.
Exactly, that synergy. And it's worth noting that the creators of the Adaptive Ritual series are incredibly clear-eyed about where this technology currently stands.
They know it's early days.
Yeah. They aren't claiming to have perfected the ultimate human support system. They view their current work as a very early prototype. It's a first working model proving that music can transcend entertainment and become systemic care.
There is a surprisingly beautiful metaphor buried right at the end of the research. They describe this entire project as a lantern set on a dark shoreline, showing where the harbor might be built.
It's a great image.
It really is. It's essentially a proof of concept. They are trying to show architects, neuroscientists, AI developers, and musicians that this entirely new interdisciplinary field of human-centered design is actually possible.
It's an invitation to shift our cultural mindset, To stop treating sound as an afterthought or a cheap commodity that we buy and sell in 3-minute streaming increments, and to start treating it with the respect it historically commanded as a vital, powerful component of the human environment.
So, what does this all mean? If we synthesize everything we've unpacked today, we are standing at the very beginning of a revolution in how we interact with our physical spaces. We are witnessing the birth of music as a scalable human support system.
A living infrastructure.
Exactly. We're moving away from passive entertainment and stepping into the era of active AI-assisted environmental design. We are looking at a near future where responsive spaces know when your heart rate is spiking, when your focus is fading, and actively use the architecture of sound to guide your nervous system safely through those daily transitions.
It is a profound evolution. We are moving from simply consuming art to literally inhabiting a living, symbiotic environment.
But as we wrap up, I want to leave you with a thought to mull over, because every technological leap comes with a hidden cost. We've talked extensively about the incredible, tangible benefits of having an environment that perfectly regulates our emotions, lowers our cortisol, and smooths out our daily transitions.
Right, the benefits are clear.
But if our physical spaces and our AI systems eventually become perfectly tuned to manage our stress for us, what happens to our own internal, unassisted capacity to navigate friction?
That's the real question.
If we never have to face acoustic chaos or sit in uncomfortable, unregulated silence because the room is always doing the heavy lifting to soothe us, do we slowly lose the internal emotional muscles required to self-regulate? It's a question we'll have to answer as we start building this new harbor. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the systems around you, keep looking for those hidden aha moments, and most importantly, keep learning.